It is 6:01, so we've met quorum, we've met time. So I'll go ahead and call this meeting of the Whitestown Fire Board to order. If we could please start with a roll call.
All right, roll call. Clinton Baum.
Howdy.
Got Jeff Wishek. Not here. Yeah, he's here, right? Jeff Wishek.
Yeah, can you guys hear me?
There you are, Jeff.
Okay.
All right.
Michelle O'Connor.
I'm here.
Me, Kyle Anderson. Jim Baldwin.
Present.
Andrew Hebner.
Here.
And Steve Bardozzi.
I'm Casey. I'm taking over for Steve.
Okay, so Casey's in place for Steve. Okay,
Yep.
Casey's here.
Yep. If everyone is okay with it, I'm in my loft. Everyone's in their homes. We really don't have a flag to do the pledge. So if that's okay, we will forego that this time and try to make sure that we have the appropriate facility for the next meeting. Is that agreeable to the board?
I could take my phone out in the front yard and point it at the flag if you want.
Let us work with Glenn to get something else set up for the next time to make sure that we're good to go.
Glenn's
That's
picture
fine.
has one.
Just an option.
All right. So thank you, everyone. I just realized that my agenda closed on me as I was getting set up. So let me pull my agenda back up here to keep us on task for this evening. But if memory serves, I'm pretty sure the next thing on our list would be to the approval of previous meeting minutes. And there's my dog welcoming my family home. All right. So are there any additions, subtractions, or adjustments that need to be made to the agenda at this time? Let's start with the agenda at this time.
No.
Clinton, I would like just to have a brief minute to introduce Casey Copeland to the board.
Sure. Let's just get the agenda approved, and then.
That's what I mean. I'd like to add that to the agenda.
All right, then I've got a motion to add to the agenda before the approval of minutes, introduction of new board member. Do I have a second on the motion?
I'll second.
I've got a second. Is there further discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
I'm sorry.
Aye.
We have to do a roll call on all of these.
Yeah.
That would have jumped in and corrected me if I hadn't done that. So, Kyle, please.
All right. Clinton
Yes.
and Jeff.
Yes.
Me, yes. Jim,
Yes.
Andrew,
Yes.
and then
All right.
Casey. Does it count in this room?
Nope.
Actually, Casey is a non-voting member.
That's what I figured. So.
There you go. Kyle is relearning the ropes after rejoining the board with a couple year absence. So, so the motion's adopted 5-0 to amend the agenda. With that amendment, can I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
All right, Jeff moves, and I think I heard Andrew second. So I've got a motion a second. Kyle, please call the roll.
Clinton,
Yes.
Jeff,
Yes.
me, yes. Jim,
Yes.
and Andrew.
Yes.
All right, thank you. With that, we'll move to our new agenda point, the introduction of new board member, and I'll turn it over to Jim.
Okay, thank you, Mr. President. I would like to introduce our Worth Township non-voting member of the Whitestown Fire Board as Casey Copeland. Casey came highly recommended from Steve Bardozzi, who was the previous non-voting member for Worth Township. I don't have Casey's resume in front of me, but he worked with them, I believe, in the emergency services capacity. Is that correct, Casey?
Yeah, so I work for Boone County EMS. I also run the transport service up there. I have my bachelor's, I have a master's degree. I'm a paramedic up there. I run most of the paramedicine program as well. So just a little brief synopsis of me. So.
Well, like I say, he came very highly recommended by Steve Bardozzi, and after looking at his resume, it was a very easy decision to appoint him to the fire board. So Casey, welcome aboard.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
Thank you, Casey, for joining us. Very excited to have you and glad to get your knowledge and expertise as we discuss the issues with our fire department, the services we provide with our ambulance, and work through all those things that come with the fire board. So welcome and thank you for your service.
Thank you.
All right, moving on, we'll go to the approval of the meeting minutes. Kyle had supplied those to us prior to the meeting. Were there any questions, comments, concerns, additions, subtractions, or deletions need to be made to those minutes at this time?
I will make a motion to approve the minutes as submitted.
I've got motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion is second. For discussion? Seeing none, Kyle, please call the roll.
All right, Clinton,
Yes.
Jeff,
Yes.
me, yes. Jim,
Yes.
Andrew.
Yes.
All right,
All right.
Five.
Motion adopted 5-0. Thank you, everyone. Glenn, I don't see anyone on here from the public. Had anyone requested prior to speak to the public?
There is nobody who's requested to speak, no.
All right. Thank you so much. We're going to skip presentations, which is currently blank, and go straight to Chief Westrich giving us updates on statistics of the department. Chief.
All right, I hope everybody got the report that I sent this morning. Starting with inspections and prevention, the inspections are starting to uptick a little more since we kind of had the brief break with the initial pandemic situation, but our annual inspections for the month are 24, which puts us about 32 if you look at the two different year-to-dates behind from last year. But if you remember last year, we finished in August with all of our annual inspections. So plenty of time, no worries there on getting all of our annuals completed. You see the number of re-inspections and new building inspections continuing to stay on track, about the same number every month. So pretty solid, consistent stats there. With public education and PR, we're just continuing to maintain our social media presence without being able to do our normal out and about within the public. Going on to additional, our Recruit Academy class, we're set to conclude this Friday, the 7th. If you guys saw the invite for our abbreviated graduation ceremony that we're going to do for the recruits. Continuing to respond to the COVID-19 pandemic. Our new ladder is just about got all the tool mounts and stuff installed. Training is in full force as far as driving and operating. We've completed the manufacturer's training for both the pumping driving portion and also the aerial ladder portion. So we're looking to get that in service at some point this month, probably towards the end of the month, before we get all the training completed that we want to before we turn everybody loose with it. Any questions so far on that first page there?
Just for the training, Chief, glad to see everyone's getting training. I don't know if everyone got a chance to notice, but in the last week, we had some joint operations that Chief was overseeing with our recruits and looking at some live fire burns that they were able to utilize right there across from the Main Street Park as they were taking care of that old farmhouse. As some may know, the town is able to keep the red barns and work that into a park facility, but Chief was able to use the firehouse for some training, and the farmhouse as a firehouse for some training. So Chief appreciates seeing that kind of collaboration going.
Absolutely, and we actually we're blessed with another training opportunity on 450 East, north of Amazon there, with a couple different houses. We've actually gave one to Pike Township's recruit class that does have a Lebanon firefighter in it as well, to utilize one of the houses. The second house we are going to utilize, they have to, one of the main reasons we kind of gave one away is because we have to have them completely burnt down by the 20th and 21st of this month. So we'll be busy with that. It's hard to pass up that good training opportunity. Kind of a segue into the training numbers for last month, we had 1,552 hours. Obviously, a bulk of that is the recruits in their recruit training, 8 hours a day, 40 hours a week. But our company level and facility trainings and stuff, we're putting out good numbers as well, keeping everybody busy during the summer months. The EMS billing, our July month-to-date revenue, just over $12,000, bringing our year-to-date over $97,000. We're still at right around a 30% increase over last year's revenue on that. And if there's no questions there, we'll get into the run stats. We had 75 calls for the month, and brings us to 561 calls, which is 45 more than last year and an 8.7% increase.
So, Chief, if I'm reading all of these numbers correctly, what I'm seeing is that the decrease that we've seen for your department has solely been in the public profile due to being on quarantine. Everything else seems to be up, from EMS runs, total runs, revenues, training, even as you said, with annual inspections being behind pace of last year. It's still, last year was very much an early finish, and we could be at a point where there are more annual inspections this year than last year. So everything seems to be ahead of last year from that perspective. Am I reading that correctly?
Yeah, that'd be a good assessment.
Other questions?
Nope.
All right. Chief, what other information do you have for the stats and updates section of the agenda?
That's all I have for the stats.
All right, I see no unfinished business, and so we have new business. Chief's going to give us an update on the COVID-19 response.
So as far as our operational response, we're still the same as far as how we're treating runs in our personal protective equipment and so on and so forth. The only thing that's really changed is that the county ramped up their emergency declaration again, and the Unified Command is meeting again on a weekly basis, not 2 times a week as it was the last time, but simply just with monitoring the situation as things tend to increase and decrease, and we're trying to figure out where we're at stats-wise on that. We decided to continue just to get together to make sure we're all on the
Chief,
same
could
page.
you remind us what different entities are involved in that Unified Command?
So it is the health department, Sheriff Nielsen from the sheriff and jail perspective, or the police and jail perspective, myself as a fire department representative for all the departments in the county. EMA is represented, and the county commissioners are represented as well.
Okay. All right, thank you, Chief. Any questions for Chief on the COVID-19 response and
I
the
did forget,
reactivation?
Sorry, I was going to add that Witham is in there as well for the hospital perspective.
Great, great. And that also means that they have put the workings together for their for Witham's Field Hospital at the 4-H Fairgrounds. Is that something that was reactivated, or was that not part of the recent one?
No, that was not reactivated. That was taken down. It's something we're keeping an eye on as a command unit. That I would say within 48 to 72 hours it can be re-upped. All the equipment is there. John Person from Witham has done great with as far as what equipment needs to be moved in and out that the hospital provides. They're the one that's running that if needed. The COVID stats for Witham Hospital, and Casey may be able to speak better to this, but generally speaking, they are very low as far as COVID patients, and everything seems to be running as expected, I guess you could say.
Okay, good. Thank you, Chief. Questions for Chief on that?
No, but thank you. Thank you very much, Chief. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Okay. seeing nothing else for the COVID-19 response, we'll move to the last part of our agenda. Other business, the station headquarters update. Chief, as you're doing this, I would really like if you could talk to the board about how COVID has impacted the station and how we're trending on opening, both how far off schedule or on schedule we still are, and what that potential time frame is, please.
Okay. The effects of COVID really only took us a week and a half to 2 weeks of having no workers there due to that situation. We do seem to be running a little bit behind as far as our overall schedule of the initial anticipation date of October 31st. We talked about this last week at our biweekly meeting with the contractors, the architects, and our owners' representation. General consensus now is we're probably 3 to 4 weeks behind. They're waiting on some contractors to finish up at the police department, which is a little bit behind as well, which is kind of translating into our project. However, this past week they have gotten a lot of work done, and some consistent work ongoing with the mechanical systems. I would imagine electrical and plumbing will be starting very soon as they wrap up the PD and come to our location. Some of the bigger things, the bay doors and windows and things like that, are on track. They're saying probably 2 to 3 weeks we should see another big increase in noticeable things, finishing up the framing and whatnot. I would imagine at the 1st of September, probably, maybe even the end of this month, that they'll be starting on the brickwork. So finally getting things going a little bit more with that delay. So I really don't have much else to add, but it's ongoing.
All right, thank you so much, Chief. One thing that I do want to think about is, we're talking about being 3 to 4 weeks behind. When that estimate is being made, is that something that is in a vacuum of all weeks being equal? Or does that take into account that when you're 3 weeks behind on a project whose end date was Halloween, that starts to put you into a Thanksgiving time frame? And does that holiday season start to play into a delay? Was that accounted for already? Or is that something we need to think about?
Well, I definitely think it's thought about when we mentioned that we foresee it as being a Thanksgiving completion, and that was really an assessment by our owner's rep. Their response was they didn't think it was going to be that far. They said, 2 to 3 weeks. I would say as long as we're shooting before that, we'll be fine. Obviously, things will come into question if we start hitting those weeks. I guess the biggest benefit was at that point, it better be weather tight, to where weather won't play an issue on that. So fingers crossed.
Yeah.
You never know.
So this is where, if it was a normal year, I would have encouraged us to, in the September meeting or even the October meeting, to have us on site for our meeting, and maybe even have the meeting at 6:30 so that we could get a nice tour beforehand. But obviously having all of us in that confined space isn't going to really fall into the current COVID standards. So I would just appreciate it, Chief, if maybe you and Glenn and your other team could work together on doing a virtual tour that could be recorded and posted either to the website or distributed to the fire board through a link or something, so that we would have a chance to see things, because we don't always have the opportunity to see how the construction's going. I got to stop by a couple weeks ago, but I don't know if any of the other board members have a chance. That might be something you consider.
Okay, absolutely.
Other questions, comments, concerns, or thoughts for Chief on the station headquarters?
Oh,
All right. Well, Chief, I would have said, let's make sure that we get this thing done before the end of college football season. But with everything else being in question, I don't know what the end of college football season will look like, because we don't even know what the start of football season is going to look like. So let's try to make sure we get this thing done
Sounds
on
good.
time and safely. Oh man, there's a kerfuffle downstairs. All right. So anything else to come before the board? All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining us and letting us into your living rooms, your kitchens, your offices, and by the pool for some of us. Brad. And really appreciate everyone. Casey, welcome to the team. Glad to have you. Look forward to hearing from everyone. And if things go well, we'll see each other in person eventually. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Do I have a motion
I
to
will make a
adjourn?
motion to adjourn.
All right. I've got a motion from Jim. I've got a second from Jeff. Kyle, please call the roll.
Clinton,
Yes.
Jeff,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
Andrew,
Yes.
and I'll finish off with yes.
All right. We are adjourned. Thank you all. Have a great evening.